Right then guys, it's PSL here and I'm here for the third episode in my Stewart Manager career mode on Grand Prix World. So you may be wondering why I'm at Sauber. Well, that is because in the previous episode I talked about the team sponsors and I made quite a big mistake, which was corrected in the comments by MC Shahini. So thank you for leaving this comment, because it was pointed out that I said that the one-star team sponsor of Red Bull pays per season somewhere in the range of $5 to $9 million. That's simply not true, as he pointed out in his comments, because if you go into... Here it is, there you go, look. Because Red Bull, they sponsor Sauber in the first season, and look, Red Bull pay Sauber per season $21.5 million. So what that does mean is it means that the actual range and the amount of money that the team sponsors pay is much less than I thought. Blondes pay Prost $25 million per season. So it's no wonder that Prost are doing so well financially. $25 million per season. In the previous episode, I started off by saying that the team sponsors separate the teams that are financially comfortable from the ones that aren't, and then I corrected myself to say, no, actually, the team sponsors just separate the teams that are financially stable from the ones that aren't. Well, I'm going to undo that correction, because with Red Bull, the lowest rated, lowest paying team sponsor, giving out $21 million per season, I go by what I originally said, and that is that the team sponsors well and truly separate the teams that are financially comfortable from the ones that aren't. So then, here we are back with Stewart in this Stewart Manager career mode. So first off, I want to employ some more assistants, and the good thing is that there are commercial assistants ready to be... Well, there's commercial assistants on the job market, so we want the excellent one, the very good one, and the good one. I'm not sure if we want the two average employees. No, I think we'll leave it as is, but I just really want to get to the maximum amount of assistants, because the more assistants we have, the more we can do, the quicker we can get stuff done, whether that be in the design aspect, the manufacturing aspect, car repairs, we can get more done with the resources we have, and the commercial side as well. We just want more people. Anyway, so we got some commercial assistants. Yes, we want some design assistants, definitely. An excellent one as well. An excellent, two very good, and a good. There you go, we have maxed out the design department, so that is very helpful. And in the future, what I'm going to start doing is, if an excellent or very good employee... In fact, I could have done it just then. But certainly if an excellent employee comes up, what I'm going to do is I'll lay off that trainee employee and then get in that excellent employee. On the engineering side, okay, we can get some more engineering assistants, that's good as well. Right, so that's 3 more assistants there. And what about on the mechanics front? Okay, only average and trainee people, and I don't really want to risk paying money for a headhunter. Although, we do need to go back and speak to Harvey Postlethwaite again. The issue was the contract length. I think he said the contract was too long. No, I don't think he said it was too short, so we'll have him for 1 season. That's fine. I actually don't mind having someone for 1 season. The reason I always offer someone 2 seasons is because most people don't actually accept a 1 season contract in this game, and I don't really want someone for 3 seasons. So also by offering 2 seasons, you get a pretty good idea of how long they want to be with the team for anyway. So a 1 season contract, that's fine by me. And there you go. So we're going to have Harvey Postlethwaite from Tyrrell as our technical director next season. So that is a massive improvement, up from a 2-star technical director to a 3-star technical director. So there you go, that's finally sorted, and now we've got the chief mechanic. At least I've got 2 chances here. So we'll... There you go, 262. 30 grand over the course of a season, even for a team like Stewart, is nothing. So we'll offer that, and there you go. We're going to have Edwards from Jordan joining us. So again, that is an upgrade from a 2-star chief mechanic to a 3-star chief mechanic. And there you go. So that's that all done. Fantastic. Right. So what I want to do then is the commercial side. Have a look at the commercial deals we struck. So of course in the previous episode I started speaking to certain different companies, including Goodyear. Right, so Goodyear are willing to offer us either a customer deal or a partner deal. Now Goodyear, and it's the same with Bridgestone actually, both tyre suppliers are sort of the same. Both Bridgestone and Goodyear offer works deals. Look, Goodyear offer 2 works deals, but they're not going to give us a works deal. Why would they? I mean, you know, we're not a team that does a lot of testing. We're not a very quick team, anything. You know, there's just no reason that Goodyear would offer us one of the 2 coveted works deals when Goodyear, they're probably also speaking to Ferrari, Williams, McLaren, loads of the top teams. They're not going to offer us a works deal, but that's fine. For this season, or for next season really, that's fine. So, and in fact, how much? $410,000 for a customer deal. That's not even that much. For a year, $410,000, that's fine. And it's kind of a similar story with fuel. Fuel is cheap per season. Look, $270,000, and the partner deal. I mean, I guess with the fuel, the actual, because this is the negotiation bar. The actual negotiation bar is much smaller, so we only have to fill up 3 square blocks to get a partner deal, whereas to get a partner fuel deal, whereas to get a partner tyre deal, we have to fill up more blocks, so it takes longer. But honestly, fuel and tyres are cheap. $270,000 and $410,000. I don't mind. I'll happily take a customer deal because the bonus perks you get with a partner deal aren't really all that attractive or interesting. And anyway, to be honest, I'd rather just cut my losses and pay a few hundred grand and guarantee that I'm going to get some tyres and some fuel next year, because you need a tyre and fuel supplier. And then just, you know, have those assistants speaking to another cash sponsor or speaking to the engine sponsor. Right, Castrol are willing to sponsor us, and $2 million per season, that's good as well. Although we do need to fill up those 4 bars before we can sign with them. Now, the engine sponsor, this is what I've been waiting for, because this could go a few different ways, honestly. It depends what both Ferrari and Ford say to us. So, well, let's see how this goes. Okay, Ford, though let's not forget that Ford, this year, look, Ford, we've got a works deal with them. They are paying us $9.8 million, and we've got all of these perks. There you go, engine works deal, and they're paying us $9.8 million. However, and I sort of expected this to happen, Ford are not willing to offer us a works deal next year, and they do a works deal. If you look, Ford, there you go, Ford, they can supply 3 teams. That's not to say that they will, but it's just they can. They have the resources to do that. And yeah, Ford, 1 works deal and 2 partner deals, but they don't want to give us the works deal. However, that's only half the story, because I'm speaking to both Ford and Ferrari, and I do need to compare the deals, but I'm hoping, well, let's see, because as I said, this could go a couple of different ways. Okay. Only a customer or partner deal. It was possible that they would offer us a works deal. Not likely, but it was possible. If you look at Ferrari, they only supply 2 teams, but they can do 2 works deals, unlike Ford, who, sure, Ford can supply 3 teams, but only 1 works deal. Ferrari can supply 2 teams, so that's 1 less, so that's the thing, is it's risky going with Ferrari engines. If we actually look at the engine ratings, the Ferrari engine is better. It's more powerful, it's more reliable, whereas there you go, there's the Ford engine we've got. And the Ford engine is quite good, and I mean, I mentioned this in the first episode, and it is ridiculous. The Ford engine is good in a lot of aspects, apart from its lack of power and lack of reliability. And that's a ridiculous statement, I know it is, but it does seem to me that the two most important ratings for an engine are power and reliability. That might not be true, it does sort of seem like it. I mean, if you look at the Mercedes engine, it's also a very reliable engine, and it is the most powerful engine in the grid in Formula 1. The Ferrari engine is the second most powerful engine. Well, let me just check that. Yeah, it is. It is more powerful than the Mechachrome. So the Ferrari engine is more well balanced. As I said in the previous episode, the best things in this game are the most well balanced. So the Ferrari engine is more well balanced, because if you look at the Ford engine is better in a lot of aspects, but ultimately the Ferrari engine is more reliable and more powerful. Bottom line, it's a better engine. I mean, let me put it this way. Ron Dennis, I bet you Ron Dennis isn't sitting in his office right now and going, do you know what? We should go with the Peugeot engines, because those Peugeot engines, they don't produce a lot of excess heat. I mean, of course he's not saying that, is he? Ron Dennis, what he's doing right now is he is sitting in his office and going, yeah, we should stick with those Mercedes engines because they're very powerful and very reliable, and they've got no weaknesses. Yeah, so it's, what, 5 squares to get a partner deal with Ford, and it's 6. It's an extra one with Ferrari, and of course, Ferrari can only supply 2 teams, Ford can supply 3, and logically, more of the top teams are going to be talking to Ferrari, because there's going to be more teams speaking to Ferrari, or more teams wanting to be supplied by Ferrari than there are Ford. I mean, who's going to want Ford engines? So there's more competition in speaking to Ferrari, but I think I'm going to go with Ferrari engines. Ultimately, we're losing out on money, because next season we're going to be poorer, regardless of whether we stick with Ford or go with Ferrari. But since the Ferrari engine is better, it's a better engine, I'm going to speak to Ferrari. So there you go, we're putting all of our eggs in the Ferrari basket, and I really, really want the partner deal, because if we go with a partner deal, that means we're only losing about 9.8 million from this season to next season. If we go with a customer deal, that means we're losing, well, what, 9.8 million plus 9.5, so, I mean, basically 20 million. I showed you the performance ratings of the engines there very briefly, and I'm going to do that with the tyres as well. Because in the previous episode I mentioned that, well, I did say more or less, generally speaking, because the temperature ratings do sort of contradict it. But if you ignore the temperature ratings, as I said in the previous episode, Bridgestone produced better dry weather tyres and Goodyear produced better wet weather tyres. Now you may be wondering why I'm speaking to Goodyear and not Bridgestone. Simply put, I mean, the tyre war, as I said, is frantic and wild and also completely random, but I'm going on the sort of logic that Bridgestone are putting in more cash and Goodyear are putting in more R&D. It averages out as about the same, but surely R&D is more important to producing a good tyre next year. That's just logic. I mean, honestly, it is random. That's too expensive. $2,000 per mile. I automatically wasn't considering testing, but no, it's just too expensive. $2,000 per mile. If it was $500, $750, $1,000 per mile, I would probably go testing again, but $2,000 per mile, And also, in a way, it's sort of better to space out the testing for a team of our size, because we won't be going testing all the time, we can't afford it. So, since we're not going testing, yes, we do want to repair the cars. Now, this will explain why, in the previous episode, after a cut, there was a $150,000-ish loss. And that was because I had to do car repairs. Now, there are two lifebloods in this game, money and spare parts. And they're both lifebloods in a sense of you need both of them to keep your team running, to keep your team afloat. Because if you don't have money, then, well, you can't afford to build spare parts, but also you can't afford to pay your staff, to travel even to the races. If you've got no money, you can't afford to do anything. If you can't do anything, you are no longer a active Formula 1 team, and then it's game over. The spare parts aren't quite as broad, they don't have quite as big a purpose, but you do need the spare parts because you need the spare parts to repair wear and damage on your car. And if you can't repair wear, or certainly it is acceptable to have some wear and some damage, but if you have an excessive amount of wear or damage, then your car isn't race ready, and then you can't race, and then that's it, game over. So you need spare parts, hence why I've just prepared my two race cars, not car free, because, well, it's only a tester car, it doesn't really matter. We don't need it to be in perfect condition. And that's also a reason why I repaired my cars back to 0% wear, because having any wear on your car does impact performance. But as car free is only a testing car, it doesn't really matter. And also, this is why you don't apply all of your mechanics to testing. Because as you saw in the first episode, I only had 45% of my mechanic staff do testing because I needed some left over to actually repair the cars. So, yeah, so I've used up all my spare parts, so as you can see I've got no spare parts left. This explains the loss of money in the previous episode because I was manufacturing some spare parts. So, that's one spare part and then another spare part. Now as you can see, it takes 36% of our engineering staff to produce one spare part. That isn't really good. It honestly isn't. 36% is not that good at all. If you're a top team with lots of staff, high morale, because morale affects effort. So if you're a top team with lots of staff, high morale, you can produce a spare part using only 9%, 8%, 10% of your staff. And this is the best example of showing the difference in size and scale of the teams, because on the other end of the scale, Minardi and Tyrrell, it probably takes them about 45% of their staff to produce one spare part, and that's abysmal. I don't want VIPs for the Brazilian Grand Prix because it's only a one-star glamour event. It's, be a waste of, what was it, about $300,000? It'd be a complete waste. So we will assign that extra 5% of staff to the engines, definitely. So there you go, 45% of our staff speaking to Ferrari, and even then, that's less than I would want. I would honestly want it to be about 50%, but I guess I could take some off of the fuel, perhaps. Have we got 20%? There you go, we'll take 5% off of the fuel and put that back onto we'll put it onto the engines. So there you go, half of my entire commercial department is speaking to Ferrari. That's how important a partner engine deal is. Or more importantly, how important $9.5 million is. We need that because next season we're going from a works deal to a partner deal, and I cannot go from a works deal to a customer deal. That would cripple the team. So then, just before we head to Brazil for the Brazilian Grand Prix, I want to show you that because I didn't do any setup testing, in fact, because I didn't do any testing at all, I don't have any setup points to apply to the car. Now that's slightly annoying because at the Australian Grand Prix, I did have setup points to apply, so that gave us a boost to different aspects of the car, and just generally speaking, it gave us a performance boost. However, what we lose through the lack of setup points, we gain through an engine upgrade. So, with our improved Ford engine, well, as you can see, the standard Ford engine has a power rating of 3. our improved Ford engine has a power rating of 4. So, I mean, well, it's just a power upgrade. That's fantastic. So, I'm not sure how much of a difference it's going to make, but either way, a power improvement is a power improvement. It's still highly, highly unlikely we'll score any points this Grand Prix, but either way, I'm going to take a power upgrade because why not? So, the cars are assembled, everything else is done. Oh, hang on. Yes, because I think this was because, well, before the Australian Grand Prix, I agreed to sign some more assistance, but any assistance you sign, that change doesn't come into effect until after the next Grand Prix. But anyway, because I have got some more mechanic assistance, what it does mean is that, well, at the previous Grand Prix I had to have 91% of my staff working on producing perfect pit stops, whereas now it's only 88%. Well, I say only, it's still a lot. But we'll have the other 3%, yeah, working on race scrutiny, why not? It honestly doesn't matter, to be honest. So, that's all. Yeah, that's all fine. And, oh, we've got to pay $352,000 just for the privilege of going to Brazil. But anyway, let's head on into the 1998 Brazilian Grand Prix. So then, yes, right, I am going to be viewing qualifying and the race. Probably only for this episode. I mean, I might view qualifying or the race later on in the series, but it won't be happening often, partly because, well, let me get on into it, and I'm sure it will become evident as to why. So the Brazilian Grand Prix, what's the weather like? Dry, fantastic, that's what I want to hear, because, as I've already said, the Bridgestone tyres, they're better in dry conditions than the Goodyear tyres, and we are a Bridgestone team, so that's great news. Yes, we've got the new and improved engine. Yeah, we'll keep Magnussen out on the softs. It worked for him in Australia, so we'll just stick with that. And let's go. Okay, we've still got to do this, okay. But anyway, now. Here we go. So, if you've never seen this before, this might be a bit of a shock, but this is how it looks. This is how the watch a qualifying session, watch a race session looks in this game. Now, the reason I won't be showing this all that often in this series is because, well, I think the kindest thing I can say about it is that it isn't YouTube friendly. It just isn't, because it's not that visually appealing to look at, because if you look in the top left screen with the TV feed where there's I think there's a Sauber going round, it's just photographs with 3D models going around. It's not that detailed or interesting or dynamic. It's just not that interesting to look at. And also it takes ages to do anything, because there is this fast forward option here, but if you actually click to fast forward, look, you can't jump back into qualifying. So it begs the question, what's really the point? Because the fast forward mode is sort of a end the session mode, and there already is that option because it's the checkered flag. So yeah, there's no real quick way of getting through it. Well, not really, because you may as well just simulate the session. It's kind of pointless, to be honest. What I'm going to do, and this demonstrates the ridiculousness of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here and wait for the track to rub it in. And that might take a while, it might take ages. Now you can see in the bottom it says we've only got 52 minutes left of qualifying. So the qualifying session isn't actually an hour long. You don't have to sit here for a whole hour, but even still, it does take a long time for time to progress in qualifying. And yes, you can up the game speed, because I think I've got it on 79%, and I think you can up it to 150%. it still goes quick. Well, no, sorry, it still doesn't go all that quickly. It's not, you know, it's still slow progression. Ultimately, you still have to sit here for a long time to wait for the track to rub it in, or you just don't bother with this element of the game. Simply put, what I would say is I can sort of understand why someone would enjoy this, because if you've got lots of free time in your hand, and I think especially for when this game came out, for the time at which it came out, I can understand why someone would find this appealing, but it takes too long for anything to happen, and the fast forwarding is undermined by the fact you can just quickly simulate the session in the first place. Simply put, I can understand to an extent why someone would find this enjoyable. However, I don't have that much time, especially not when I'm recording this for a YouTube series. It isn't viable for YouTube, and I don't think it's all that interesting to watch anyway as a viewer. So, yeah, I'll cut back when the track actually rubs in, which might take some time, and again, explains why I won't be watching the qualifying sessions in many of the episodes. But anyway, yes, I'll cut back to you when that eventually happens. Finally, the track has rubbed in a bit, with 36 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, or let me put it another way, with 24 minutes of this qualifying session gone. Rubens Barrichello is now coming down the start-finish straight. Schumacher's entered the pits, and Barrichello, what lap time is he going to set as he crosses the line now? Barrichello is in 11th. Magnussen is out there on the soft tyres. Magnussen is up into 8th. So then both of my guys are... Yeah, there you go. There's Magnussen. Barrichello's already in the pits. I believe that was Magnussen who just came in. I don't know why the TV feed is showing the pit lane when there's 6 cars out on track, including Frentzen and Irvine. But anyway, and Mika Hakkinen, actually. But anyway, now we can actually fast forward. Yeah, we will click fast forward, because I believe if you click fast forward, the AI will do more lap times, or will set more laps. So I guess this is a sort of compromise. You could view the qualifying session and then just leave the game running for ages, wait for the track to rub it in, and then just click fast forward so it does it all for you. That would... Oh no. No, am I getting this mixed up with something else? Because it's not going quickly. No, maybe I'm getting it confused with the race. Right, so we want to click end qualifying. And there you go. In fact, our drivers didn't do any more laps. Oops. Well, there you go. That's another reason why I would rather simulate the session, because I'm not going to sit there for the whole hour just to wait for when the track is at its best. Anyway, the point is in qualifying we still did fairly well. Jan Magnussen qualified in 11th for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello in 15th. Shinji Nakano didn't qualify. His best lap time, presumably, was outside of the 107% time. It doesn't say. Maybe he just didn't set a lap time at all. I find that hard to believe. Either way, though, for whatever reason, Shinji Nakano didn't qualify within the 107% time, and the FIA have decided that he will not take part in the Grand Prix. So, there you go, and up towards the front, let's have a look. Alright, so Jacques Villeneuve in the end got into the 1 minute 17s and beat Michael Schumacher. So, in a dry qualifying session, the top 3 lap times were set by Goodyear runners, and one of them was Damon Hill as well, so that's a bit of a shock. But yes, the starting grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix, it's Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Alexander Wurz in 4th, David Coulthard 5th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 6th, Mika Hakkinen didn't do all that well to be in 7th, Irvine in 8th, Ralf Schumacher 9th. So then, the TV feed up in the top left, we got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights. And the 1998 Brazilian Grand Prix is underway, and that scares me every single time. Those cars shoot off the grid, and already there is engine smoke. Right, I don't know who... I think that's one Wurz, actually. Wurz, I think, has worked his way up into 3rd place, but his car's wobbling around all over the place, and there's smoke billowing up into the air. One good thing you can do, I suppose, is you can select it so anytime there's a retirement, it takes you back into the action. So it will be on this screen, so you can see the full running order, and then it will show you back, it will take you back to this screen when there's a retirement. However, that would only be a good feature on the assumption that the race actually goes by quicker when you're in this screen, but it doesn't, because look, still on lap 2, still on lap 2, still on lap 2, still on, there you go. Well, to be fair, that might be laps completed, not laps. Yeah, that is laps completed actually, but still, it still takes a long time for a lap to be done. It might be quicker than if you watch the cars go round, but it's still slowly, so this whole, oh, tell me when there's a retirement, is kind of irrelevant because you may as well just watch the race anyway. Now we can click fast forward, and again, much like in qualifying, if you click fast forward, you can't jump back into the session, which does mean, why would you view the race and then fast forward? Why wouldn't you just simulate the race in the first place? Anyway, as I've said, regardless of what I personally think about watching a session in this game, I still stand by the fact firmly that it isn't YouTube friendly. I don't like it. I mean, you know, that's certainly an opinion, but I just don't think it's all that great really for YouTube. Anyway, yeah, there you go. This is what I was thinking of. It goes by rapidly. This is a fast forward. Magnussen is in 9th, and there you go. Well, that was wild. So let's actually have a look at the race standings. So Mika Hakkinen won the 1998 Brazilian Grand Prix. Alexander Wurz, despite the fact his engine was billowing smoke from the start, Alexander Wurz finished in 2nd and was only half a second behind Mika Hakkinen. A 2nd place finish around Brazil in a Benetton, that's extraordinary. Jacques Villeneuve finished the Grand Prix in 3rd, David Coulthard 4th, Giancarlo Fisichella in 5th, Eddie Irvine in 6th. This screams to me that surely Michael Schumacher retired. Yes, he did. Michael Schumacher retired with a hydraulics issue. So did Rubens Barrichello. Damon Hill was out. Deniz out. Ralf Schumacher out. In fact, Deniz and Schumacher both out due to accidents. In the Drivers' Championship standing, Giancarlo Fisichella is still just about leading, but he's only got a 1-point advantage over Mika Hakkinen in 2nd. Eddie Irvine is in 3rd, and he's the highest driver on single-figure points, and he's also the highest Ferrari driver in the Drivers' Championship, which is extraordinary, but we're still only 2 races into the season, and reliability has bit Michael Schumacher hard. Jacques Villeneuve is joint 4th with Alexander Wurz. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is in 6th, and then you got Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard in joint 7th. In the Constructors' Championship standings, it's quite close actually. Really quite close. Benetton are still leading the Constructors' Championship, but McLaren have caught up. McLaren are now on 14 points, only 4 behind Benetton, and 4 ahead of both Williams and Ferrari, who are both on 10 points and are both on joint 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode in this series. And I promise you, from the next episode onwards, we're going to be doing more than 1 Grand Prix per episode. It's just in the previous episodes I had to explain large portions of the game and all sorts, but I think at this point I've explained most of the game, so we can now just crack on and get on with the 1998 season. So we will be doing that in the next episode, and we will start off with the Argentine Grand Prix. So I'll see you guys in the next episode when we'll be doing just that.